Programming and Outreach Manager for the Long Branch Free Public Library. I'd like to welcome everyone to our program today. This is a presentation by the New Jersey State Library Talking Book and Braille Center. I would just like to, at this time, quickly ask everyone to make sure their phones are on silent. And to ask you, if you're interested in learning more about our events here at the library, you can visit our website to sign up for our excellent monthly newsletter, or to please follow us on social media. We have a very active Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. So today we are welcoming the New Jersey State Library Talking Book and Braille Center. This is a free service. They provide free public library service to New Jersey residents of all ages who cannot easily read standard printed materials due to a visual impairment, physical handicap, or reading disability. Our library can facilitate your application to use these services, which are completely free to all New Jersey residents. So to explain the program and the services they have available, we welcome today Elizabeth Burns, the Head of Reader Services, Stephen Felle, the Outreach Librarian, and Liz Kelly, our Readers Services Advisor. This library for the Talking Book and Braille Center was founded in 1967, and it provides these services on behalf of the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled. So without further ado, I will turn the program over to our presenters, who will explain what is available and how you can access it. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank everybody for joining us today. Next slide. My name is Liz Burns. I'm the Head of Reader Services, and my email is eburns@njstatelib.org, and my phone number is 800-792-8322, extension 804.
My name is Stephen Felle. I'm the Outreach Librarian for the Talking Book and Braille Center. My email address is sfelle@njstatelib.org. My phone number is 800-792-8322, extension 812.
Hi, I'm Liz Kelly. I'm a Reader Services Advisor. My email address is lkelly@njstatelib.org, and my phone number is 800-792-8322, extension 805.
And we're going to have time at the end for questions. And you may have questions before then. We just ask that you hold them at the end because we might answer your questions throughout the presentation. And if not, again, we have time at the end. Next slide. As mentioned, we are the Talking Book and Braille Center, and here's our website. And the next slide shows that we are actually a division of the New Jersey State Library. And we are the division of the state library that provides library services to New Jersey's blind and print-disabled population. We provide audiobooks, Braille, and large print. And our patrons range in age from last time we checked, from 3 to 103. Many of our patrons are over 50. And the reason they join our library is because of something age-related, for example, macular degeneration or arthritis. And they're people who loved reading, and they're afraid that because of that, their reading days are over. And as we will explain, Tbbc is here so that they can continue reading the books that they want. We also have patrons who qualify for our library's children and teens, and for them, this is how they've always known how to read, the audio or the Braille or the large print they can borrow from us. Some people use tablets and smartphones to listen to our audiobooks and read Braille, and some are not comfortable with technology at all, so we try to have something for everyone for their reading experience. Next slide. The state library entered into an agreement with the Library of Congress, and this arrangement means that Tbbc functions for the regional library in New Jersey for the Library of Congress's National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, or NLS. So we'll be saying NLS a few times, and it means this division, this part of the Library of Congress. NLS itself is a nationwide program, but it's implemented on the state level. So in New Jersey, that means that they provide us the Braille, the audiobooks and magazines, the machines that we're going to be showing you to listen to the audiobooks. But then each state implements it and runs things a little bit differently. So in some, the regional library is connected to their public library. That's what happens in New York and in Pennsylvania. Again, we're with the New Jersey State Library. In some states, it's connected with the Department of Education. But the main thing to remember is NLS provides services for all U.S. citizens and anyone living in the United States. In New Jersey, it's Tbbc. So you live in New Jersey, we take care of what's going on here. If you're in a different state, you're going to get these types of services just offered by somebody different. Now, NLS was founded in 1931, so it's celebrating its 90th anniversary, and there is a lot of information on the website about why and how it was funded and why it runs the way it does. And in all honesty, I could be up here for another hour if I was just talking about what happened during the different times in their 90-year history. The next slide. What's important that we wanted to stress for today is, with it being part of the Library of Congress, federal laws and federal regulations create the structure and what NLS does. So that's centralized library with a statewide implementation. And statewide, that means we work directly with patrons. We do outreach and programs like this today. Again, if that's something that you're really, really interested in, go to their website. They have a ton of information there. And we're going to just highlight the things that are most important for it. And one of the reasons we also stress this is the rules are what allows us to deliver our unique services to people who are blind or print disabled. And if there's abuse of the program, if we sign up someone who just really, really likes to listen to books during their commute or something like that, or if someone says, oh, I don't want to use that machine to listen to a book, I want to do something to listen to it a different way, and breaks that restriction, it could jeopardize the entire program because we have to follow these rules. If you have a question on why we do something, and when we answer it, half the time the answer is going to be because there's a federal law that says so. The next slide, I kind of condensed what all those laws and regulations do, and what they allow NLS to do is to create audio and Braille versions of books published in the United States, and it does so for a specific audience, people who are blind or print disabled. It also means we can make unlimited numbers of copies of those audio and Braille. So it means that for a lot of items, we don't have wait lists for when someone wants to read a book. Like if you go into the public library, there's a one copy, one loan, whether it's a physical book on the shelf or whether it's an electronic copy to download. It's still one copy per person, but we're not limited in that way. And that's also pretty significant, and again, that's why we have to be strict about who borrows it. And also how to listen to it, which we'll be showing that player and stuff a bit later. One of the good news about how to listen is it can be our player or another player that NLS has approved, and the good news is that includes smartphones and tablets, so you can get an app to listen to our books too if you don't like that player. And then finally there is the Chaffee Amendment, and that's on the next slide. And the Chaffee Amendment is something that NLS holds so near and dear that they always want us to mention it specifically when we do a program like this. And basically, before the Chaffee Amendment, we had all those things I was talking about, but there was the additional thing that when NLS wanted to record something, they had to get permission from the copyright holder, the author or the publisher. And so, and this was back in like 1996, so that was a lot of phone calls. After this amendment, they said, you know what, we want to streamline it. It's making it more difficult and it's delaying how books get made. And so they put in the Chaffee Amendment, which means they don't have to get that permission anymore as long as they follow certain conditions. And those conditions, I've said it like a bazillion times now, so I'll say it one more time, has to be who's going to be listening to it and how they're going to be listening. And another thing I want to mention about how all these things function is the publishers and authors aren't getting paid. When you all buy an audiobook or a book from a bookstore, or even when your library here is buying books themselves, the publishers and authors are getting paid for that. That's not happening with our books because of it being a library for the blind and print disabled, and that's another reason why we're just really always stressing that it's for the people who are eligible for the program. And with that in mind, what do we mean by eligible? What do we mean by blind and print disabled? And Stephen's going to talk about that a little bit more now.
you, Liz. Yes, as she mentioned, people do need to qualify for our library, and the question is, who exactly is eligible? Current NLS eligibility criteria has it that someone is eligible for our library if they cannot read standard print or cannot hold a book due to blindness, visual impairment, physical impairment, perceptual impairment, or a reading disability. Besides blindness, a general visual impairment would qualify a person if it prevents them from reading standard print. We often anecdotally say that if you can't read a typical newspaper, you would qualify due to a visual impairment. An example of a condition that falls under this would include macular degeneration. Physical impairment qualifies a person if it prevents them from holding a book or turning pages for an extended period of time. This includes conditions like arthritis. Lastly, perceptual impairments and reading disabilities also qualify people for our services. One important thing to remember about all of our qualifying conditions is that they could be either permanent or temporary. Another important thing to remember about our qualifying conditions is that they are unique to NLS. I mention this because if a person has been denied service by the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, another organization we're often mistaken for, that does not mean they are ineligible for our services. CBVI has different standards and qualifications than our library does. Besides individuals, NLS libraries also provide accounts to institutions that have eligible individuals among their regular clientele. These institutions can use their accounts to access services on behalf of their clients. The list of eligible institutions includes places like libraries, retirement communities, and rehab centers. There is a separate application required for institutions. There's also a separate process for authorization for these types of accounts. Unlike the certification process for individuals that we're going to talk about in just a moment, institutional applications must be authorized by that institution's director. So for individuals who are interested, an application is required. We're going to go over that application in a little more detail now. The latest version of our application can always be found online at the link here. Besides the application for individuals, the application for institutions can be found here as well. I do have physical applications here with me today, so if anyone would like to take one with them or take a look at that, please let us know. The fastest way to submit completed applications to us is through email. We can accept scans and cell phone pictures of filled out applications as long as they have a clear quality. Besides email, we can also accept applications through the postal mail or through fax. In order for someone to prove their eligibility, their application must be certified. Certification here involves someone acting as the certifying authority by signing their name on the application. That signature certifies that the person applying for our library does actually qualify. We do not need any additional medical documentation, and in fact, we ask that those types of documents are not sent in. All we require is a completely filled out application, along with the complete contact information of the person signing off as the certifying authority. There are many different professionals who can sign off on an application as the certifying authority. This list has recently been expanded to include more professions. We are going to go over the full list in just a moment. However, the most important thing to remember is that librarians can act as the certifying authority for all qualifying conditions. This means Long Branch librarian Janet Burkhead can sign off for those who qualify. The full list of professions who can sign off as a certifying authority includes doctors, optometrists, nurses, psychologists, and therapists. The list goes on to include professional staff of hospitals, institutions, and welfare agencies. Examples would include social workers, certified reading specialists, and again, librarians. All of these professions can sign off for any qualifying condition. Here's a screenshot of what the first page of our application looks like. When filling out this part of the application, we require the following information: the applicant's first and last name, their full mailing address, including state and zip code, their phone number, and their date of birth. If the person applying is a veteran who is honorably discharged, they can mark that off with the checkbox below the contact information. Beneath that, we have checkboxes for the person to mark off their qualifying condition. This is a required part of the application. If you take a look at the different fields there are, this shows you can actually fill in the application by typing directly into the file on your computer. We are now able to accept applications that are filled out electronically this way. Applications that are filled out electronically must be emailed to us. Here's what an example of a certifying authority form looks like when it is correctly filled out electronically. Please remember that we need the entire certifying authority form filled out. This includes the name of the person signing on both the top authority name line and on the bottom authority signature line. The first and last name of the person signing off goes on the top line along with the name of their organization. On the title and occupation line, the person signing off can put down their job title and any degrees or certifications they have. Underneath that, the person signing off can put their contact information. We require both the address and their phone number. And finally, we also require the person's signature and date. These must be included for each person who is applying. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Liz Kelly, who will now tell you about some of our services.
Thank you, Stephen. So there are many benefits to Tbbc library services. One of the main benefits of our library is that NLS has the ability to to record any book published in the U.S. Because of this, we have access to some titles that are not available anywhere else. We also have a large selection of world language titles. This portion of our collection is growing quickly thanks to the Marrakesh Treaty, which is a treaty between 100 countries that will allow them to share accessible versions of their books more easily. We also have no wait lists for our titles and audiobooks. Whenever someone requests a title, we can make it available for them right away. Finally, our services are always at no cost to patrons, and this includes all materials mailed back and forth from the library. Next slide, please. In order to show how we have some titles that are not available anywhere else, I have a few examples of recently added titles here. They include Irish Above All by Mary Pat Kelly, 9 Below Zero by Kevin Canty, Life is a Party, Deliciously Doable Recipes to Make Every Day a Celebration by David Burtka. This selection shows that we have both fiction titles exclusively, as well as nonfiction titles like cooking and gardening books, which do not usually get an audio recording. Next slide, please. Now let's say you would like the audio version of Irish Above All by Mary Pat Kelly. You would go to Amazon to see if the audio version is available. And as we can see from this screenshot, there is no audio version listed here. However, next slide please. Here we have an NLS catalog screenshot showing that the book is available in our collection. This shows that the only way to know whether or not we have a title is to actually check with us. And again, because we can make as many copies of our books as needed, we would have this book instantly available for anyone who wanted to read it in audio. Next slide, please. Our world language collection is growing quickly thanks to the Marrakesh Treaty. As I mentioned, this is an international treaty between more than 100 countries. If anyone has any questions about the world language titles, please let us know, or the Marrakesh Treaty. There's enough information about this that we could take up another presentation talking about it. But we now have more than 30 languages in our collection, including Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian. To help both patrons and network libraries locate these titles, NLS is pleased to announce a new online publication called Foreign Language Quarterly. Next slide, please. Since NLS is now adding more foreign language books to the collection than ever before, Foreign Language Quarterly, which is posted on the NLS website every 3 months, will feature a selection of the most popular foreign language titles recently added to the NLS collection. Next slide, please. I'll pass it back over to Steve.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual services we offer. Specifically, I'm going to talk about our audio and Braille books. For audio, we're going to talk about our library book players and our library book cartridges. We're also going to talk about our mobile app. So audiobooks are the most requested type of book that we have. We have a very big collection. This includes all the popular authors like James Patterson and Danielle Steele, as well as all the popular genres, including romance, mysteries, or biographies. We also have many bestsellers and new releases. Besides the super popular titles, we also have a big selection of midless titles. Midless titles means these are the books people do like to read, but they aren't the super high-profile books that everyone is aware of. This is another benefit of our service because in many cases, midless titles do not get commercial audio recordings of their own. Because of this, you can only ever find the audio version at our library. Besides books, we also have a selection of magazines and audio. Some examples would include AARP and People Magazine. One last great benefit about our audiobooks is that they are all feature professional narration. Our books are not recorded by volunteers, and they have the same quality standards you would expect from a commercial audiobook. Next, we have our Braille books. Braille books can be very large. In the picture on the left here, we have the book House Rules by Jodi Picoult. This one book takes up 5 separate volumes in Braille. I also have with me today another Braille book, in real life, The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is a single book in 1 volume, so it is just the one book. However, as you can see, it's much larger than what you would expect a typical book to be. And so for this reason, Braille books do take up a lot of space. Just like with our audiobooks, we do have a large collection, though, with new books still being added. In addition to our audio and Braille books, we also have a collection of large print titles. This collection is geared specifically for our children and teen patrons. The reading level of our large print collection goes from about a 3rd grade level up to young adult. The reason why we focus on large print books for kids and not large print books for adults is that it is much easier to find large print books for adults at your local library. Long Branch Public Library, for example, has a collection of large print books for adults. So with all these books available, the next question is, how does someone actually search our collection to find the books they want? There are actually a few different ways to do so. The first way you can search our collection is by reaching out to one of our Reader Services advisors. You can either call our Reader Services team at 800-792-8322, extension 861, or by emailing us at tbbc@njstatelib.org. When you contact a Reader Services advisor, they can search the collection for you. They can also order books, recommend titles, or answer any other questions you may have about our library. You can reach our Reader Services advisors Monday through Friday during the day. We are not open nights or weekends. If you leave a message, please be as detailed as possible, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Another way to find what books we have that is popular with our patrons is our Talking Book Topics magazine. Talking Book Topics is a bi-monthly publication that lists all of the newest audiobooks that were added to the collection. Patrons can subscribe to Talking Book Topics to receive the latest issue either in large print or in audio. It can also be found online, which I'm going to show on the next slide. Similar to Talking Book Topics, we also have our Braille Book Review magazine. This is another bi-monthly magazine that lists all of the new Braille books that were added to the collection. Patrons can subscribe to receive the latest issue either in large print or in Braille. Next, we have the Nls Online Catalog. The Nls Online Catalog is a website that allows you to search through our collection using a search engine. We're going to give an example of that in just a bit. And last but not least, we have our Tbbc Catalog. The Tbbc Catalog is similar to the Nls Online Catalog in that it allows you to search the collection using a search engine. There are a couple differences, though, that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Here's a screenshot of what the Talking Book Topics webpage looks like. At the webpage, you can view the latest issue as well as several back issues. New issues of Talking Book Topics also come with order forms you could use to order books. So if you get the latest issues through your subscription, you can also order books that way. Here's what some examples of talking book topic entries look like. I do also have our physical large print version with here today, so if anyone would like to see how that looks when it's printed, please feel free to ask me. Books are broken down into genres for easier browsing. For each book in Talking Book Topics, there's also a book record. The book record will include the book's title, author, narrator, runtime, and a summary. At the end of the summary are content descriptors for that book. Content descriptors mark if a book has things like sex, violence, or strong language. This is not done to censor any book, but rather to inform readers about the book's subject matter. Going off of this, it is important to remember that books labeled as unrated have not been reviewed. Because of this, we do not know if explicit content is present or not. Other content descriptors can include a book's reading level, such as with the bottom example being for high school readers, or whether or not a book is a commercial recording or a bestseller. Next slide. Here is the webpage for Braille Book Review. Just like with Talking Book Topics, you can view the latest issue as well as several back issues here. I also have a large print copy of Braille Book Review with me if anyone would like to see that. Here's what the NLS Online Catalog looks like. It offers users the ability to search by author, title, or keyword. Keyword searches will search for words located anywhere within the book record. And here again is what a result from the NLS Online Catalog search looks like. It offers basic information on the book record, such as title and author. And finally, here's what the login page for the Tbbc Catalog looks like. Unlike the NLS Online Catalog, which anyone can visit just by going to the web page, the Tbbc Catalog is only available to registered patrons. Furthermore, it requires you reach out to a reader services advisor so they can help set up your account and provide you with the patron ID and password you will need to log in. Because of this, the NLS Online Catalog is more accessible for people who are not patrons or who just want to do a quick search without having to log into anything. For patrons who are registered with the Tbbc Catalog, the benefits are that it allows you to put books on your request list without having to contact someone from Reader Services. Our library's request list system does work differently than most public libraries, though. If anyone has any questions about how that specifically works, please let us know and we'd be glad to elaborate. The most important thing to know, though, is that books on your request list in our library don't always go out immediately. Because of this, if you do need a book right away, please contact us so a Reader Services advisor can send it out to you right away. The most important thing to take away from all of this is that patrons can't search our collection by browsing. We're not a browsable library as you'd have with your local public library. The picture you see here is the machine we use to create audiobook cartridges for each patron. We do not have shelves on them that people can look through. Our Braille books have to be stored in a warehouse because of their size. Because of all this, people who want to search our collection need to do so using one of the resources we just talked about. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Liz Kelly.
Okay, so there are many ways that a patron of the TBBC can choose to receive their books. All titles in the collection are available for instant download with our BARD program, either through the BARD mobile app or on the BARD website. For those who would prefer not to download for themselves, we also offer books by mail, and we will discuss each of these in more detail. Next slide, please. BARD is an acronym that stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. BARD allows patrons to download our same library collection directly from the internet, and in this way it gives patrons 24/7 access to our collection because you do not need to wait to get into touch with someone from our library or wait for your books to be delivered through the mail. We also have a dedicated mobile app for BARD called BARD Mobile. In order to use the app, the person needs to be a TBBC patron and have already registered on the BARD website for the program. The app is available for all major mobile devices, including iPhone, iPad, Android, and Kindle Fire. Bard Mobile is downloaded just like any other app from the marketplace. When you open the app, TBBC patrons will log into it using their email address and a password that they have created. Once they're logged in, they can download and listen to our entire collection of audiobooks right from the device. Next slide, please. So now if I can direct your attention to, we have our iPad here today. Oh. Slide to the left. There we go. This is what the Now Playing tab of the Bard mobile app looks like. It's actually designed to look very similar to our talking book player interface. Once you have your title found and downloaded, you just click play
Side 1.
for the book to start playing.
Dobby's Warning.
Okay, next slide, please. The Bard website, nlsbard.loc.gov, is where users first go to register for Bard. It is also where they can download books from the Bard website right onto a flash drive. Our talking book players are used to play the books that are downloaded to the flash drive, and the flash drive is inserted into a slot located on the side of the player, which we'll show you in just a little while. When the flash drive with the book file is inserted into the player, it will play the exact same way as if one of our library cartridges were inserted. I also want to mention Bard Express. Bard Express is a downloadable software version of Bard that streamlines some of the downloading process. Downloading books from the website does have a bit of a learning curve, so Bard Express automates some parts of that to make it easier for users. However, Bard Express is only available for Windows computers, so anyone who's using a Mac or another device must use the Bard website, which can be accessed from any internet browser. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to grab one of our digital talking book players, and we'll show you how it works. In order to play our cartridges that we send patrons a digital talking book player that they keep on long-term loan for as long as they use our service. We have two models of player, standard and advanced. We have both of them here today. The main difference being this is a standard player. The advanced version has just a couple extra buttons like next and previous up about here. The players have built-in rechargeable batteries. On a full charge, they should last for longer than 24 hours. And players also provide audio feedback to users, meaning that the player will announce what each button does. So when there's not a cartridge inserted, we're going to turn the player on.
Player on. Press any button to learn about its function. Battery charge remaining, 28 hours. Volume up. To increase the volume by 1 step, press the volume up button. There are 15 volume steps.
We also have tone.
Tone up. To raise the tone of the voice by 1 step, press the tone up button. Volume up. To increase speed up. To increase the reading speed
And
by
if we
1
wanted to
step,
stop,
press
just press that play stop button again. I'm going to grab one of our cartridges to show you how they go in. So these are one of our audiobook cartridges. They're inserted into the front of our player. Let me turn
8 books.
Frog and Toad are friends.
So,
Current position.
Frog.
stop that up. So you just insert it right into the front of the player and it will begin playing the first book on that cartridge. We do have the ability to put multiple books on a single cartridge. And then I'm also just going to quickly show you how a flash drive goes in there.
Play stop. To start or stop.
Do we have that? Oh, was it on the other side? Sorry. Well, that's okay. Our flash drive goes in the slot on the side of the player. It's not the same area that the cartridge goes in. We also do have elbow extenders just to prevent flashlight from being damaged or dislodged, just because it does stick in right to the side of the player. Alrighty. Players are compatible with standard headphones if patrons would like to listen to their books that way instead of through the built-in speaker. And for users that are exceptionally hard of hearing, we do also have a high volume model of our player available. Though receiving one of these does require a doctor's note because it is so loud it will damage your hearing if you don't already need it. We also do have a breath switch for our players. Put these in. We also provide, next slide please. We also provide our books by mail. When patrons order books by mail, we send them out on specialized book cartridges, like the one we see here. Cartridges can have several books loaded onto them at once. They're delivered in these plastic mailing containers. The containers come with mailing cards that are inserted right into the slot here. On one side it is the patron's name and address. On the back is a list of books that are included on the cartridge. To return the cartridges and the books once the patron is done reading, they just put them right back in the case, snap it shut, and then just make sure to remove this mailing card. Our address and postage is already taken care of on a sticker on our cartridge box. All right, next slide, please. We offer patrons the option to have their books automatically sent out to them based on their favorite authors and genres. When patrons choose to receive books this way, TBBC will send out books automatically on a delivery schedule. Patrons can choose the delivery schedule that works for them. Some patrons prefer what we call turnaround, which means whenever they return a book, a new one, or a book cartridge, a new one is generated for them. And some patrons just prefer to receive them on a set delivery schedule, such as every 2 weeks, regardless of whether or not they have returned a book. We are able to change the patrons' reading preferences whenever they want. We always want our patrons to receive books that they enjoy on a schedule that works best for them. Next slide, please. For patrons that only want specific titles, we have the option to be on demand. The library will only send you material when you specifically request it, and you have to contact the library through email or by phone before any books will be mailed. You can reach us anytime by email at the library's main email address or call a reader's advisor Monday through Friday during the day. If you call after our office hours, that's no problem. Just leave us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Next slide, please. All right, so we talked about the book player a little bit. I'm just going to show you briefly the 2 ways that you can listen to books on a multi-book cartridge. Is that the one? I had this one works too. So there's sequential play, which just allows the patron to listen to the books in the order that they were put on the cartridge. All right, so we're just going to fast
8
forward.
books.
So this one has 8
Frog
books on it.
and Toad are friends.
That's the
Current
first one.
position.
Frog and Toad are friends.
All right.
By Arnold.
We're just going to fast
Forward.
forward to the end.
Forward 20 seconds. Forward.
How long is this one?
It's like people in that for a minute or so.
Forward 20 seconds. Forward 1 minute. New location.
The story.
Forward 20 seconds. Forward 1 minute. Forward 5 minutes. End of book. Press play stop to go to next book.
And then you just simply press play
Book
stop,
2.
book 2. And it's
Frog.
done. There's also another way if patrons want to skip around on multi-book cartridges. We call it the bookshelf function. So you just simply press and hold down on the play stop button.
Bookshelf 8 books.
And so you hear
book
that, man.
2.
Frog and Toad together.
So then after you enter that bookshelf mode, you just tap to go
3.
forward.
Clifford at the circus.
Every time you tap the
4.
fast forward,
Clifford takes a trip.
it'll go
5.
forward 1 book.
Clifford the big red dog.
And it's the same to go back. Just press rewind.
4.
Clifford takes a trip.
3.
Clifford at the circus.
Okay. And you
Clifford
just
at the
press play
circus.
stop just to
By
let go when
Norman
you want.
Bridwell.
Player off.
All right, next slide, please. Another exciting development at the TBBC is the NLS Braille e-reader pilot program. We were lucky enough to be one of 5 libraries selected to participate in the program, providing our Braille patrons, Braille reading patrons, with these devices. We have one here today, so I can show you. The e-reader is a 20-cell, 8-key Perkins-style keyboard. It does not have any audio commands, unfortunately, so we are looking for only experienced Braille readers to participate in the program. Over the course of 6 months, the participants will fill out 3 surveys to provide feedback to NLS that NLS will use to, for their future implementation of these machines. But for now, like we said, we're only asking experienced Braille readers to participate in the program. And I'm going to pass it back over to Stephen to tell us a little bit more about our services.
Thanks, Liz. So yes, now I just want to tell you about some of the additional services we do offer at TBBC. So one additional service our library provides is, of course, programming. One example of our programming is the TBBC bingo card we put together for our patrons to fill out. Another popular example is our virtual book club. Our virtual book club meets once a month and lets TBBC patrons get together to talk about some good books they've read. Our next club meeting is actually going to be in just a few days on Friday, October 1st at 1 p.m. Our reading for this month's meeting will be Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. It's not required that you've read the entire book ahead of time in order to attend and participate. So if anyone here is interested, please let me know and I can give you more information. Besides programming, TBBC also does outreaches in order to engage the community and spread awareness about our services. Examples of outreach include working vendor tables, participating in conferences, and giving direct patron presentations just like this one. If anyone here happens to be a representative of an organization that will be hosting an event sometime in the future, and you'd like for us to attend to talk about our services, please let me know. We'd be glad to be there. We also have some services that are dedicated just for our youth patrons. One example would be our summer reading program. Our summer reading program follows the same annual theme that many public libraries use. We also partner with the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired to provide our technology loan program. Our technology loan program allows eligible individuals to receive devices such as software-equipped laptops and desktop magnifiers to use and try out. There is more involved eligibility for the technology loan program than there is for applying for our library. So if anyone here would be interested in that, please let me know so I can take down your information. And finally, the New Jersey State Library is very active on social media. We regularly post about library updates, as well as other items of interest like current events. We have both a Facebook page and a Twitter account, so if anyone is interested in connecting with us via social media, please give us a visit. TBBC also has a YouTube playlist as part of the New Jersey State Library YouTube account. TBBC staff members make short, informational videos about many of our different services. Some examples of previous videos include how to register for BARD or how to search for books on the website. I've even made a few of the videos myself, so if anyone is interested in checking those out, please do so. TBBC also puts together an electronic newsletter for our patrons. This newsletter includes the latest updates from our library, book recommendations, and some other fun things. Right now, new issues of the newsletter are going out about every other month. In order to receive the latest issues of the newsletter automatically, we must have your email address on file. If anyone here is a patron and has not been getting the newsletter, that could be why. You can also view the latest issue of the newsletter, as well as all of the back issues, at the webpage listed here. Next up, we have NFB Newsline. Newsline is an audio news service sponsored by the National Federation of the Blind, one of the largest blind groups in the nation. Newsline provides free audio access to more than 500 publications. It has national and international publications, such as the Wall Street Journal or USA Today. It also has local newspapers, such as the Asbury Park Press and the Newark Star Ledger. TBBC can provide Newsline access directly to our registered patrons. If anyone here is a registered patron and is interested in that, please let us know. And last, but certainly not least, we have our Library Equal Access Program, otherwise known as LEAP. LEAP is a program sponsored by the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired in partnership with TBBC. LEAP provides free classes to learn about the accessibility tools that are available on iPhones and iPads. The program is available at several participating libraries throughout the state. For Long Branch, the closest locations would be either the East Brunswick Public Library or the Ocean County Library, Toms River Branch. We are hoping to open registration for the next round of classes soon. I am keeping a wait list, so if anyone here is interested, please let me know. And here we have a picture of a LEAP class in action at the Monmouth County Library, Manalapan headquarters. This picture was taken in 2019 before anyone had an idea about COVID, so that's why people in this photo are not masked. This photo does do a good job, though, of showing how classes are limited to just 4 students. This is a benefit of the program, as it's easy to get one-on-one instruction time with the trainer. As a quick note, though, I do need to say that LEAP is not being offered in Manalapan at this time. We are hoping to bring it back soon. And with that, I'm going to bring back Liz Byrne, who's going to end up our presentation and take some questions.
And we managed to cover a lot of stuff in an hour, less than an hour. So we definitely have time for questions. We also have up here, if anyone wants to take a look at our Braille or any of the different machines that we were talking about. So we've got a print Braille book for children, the Braille book Stephen was mentioning, and that, so if somebody wants to take a look at that. And I think that's about it. So any questions? Yes?
You said librarians can certify somebody.
Yeah.
I just wanted people to know that we have the director and 3 other librarians, and also we have a social worker as well, so he could also?
Yes.
So if I'm not here, you can go to Kate Angelo, David Perez, our social worker, or Wes Blackburn, or in a pinch if she's not busy, Tanya Garcia, our director.
Yeah, so what's nice about that is there are a bunch of people who can sign here too, and the only thing we ever ask people to do is sometimes, especially with the applications that we get frequently, it's kind of funny because people think we know them. So, but we serve the entire state. So when we get in an application signed by, Taylor Smith, and then they put nothing else down because they're like, I'm Taylor, you know me. And we're like, I'm glad you think we do that, but we still need you to fill out, are you a social worker? Are you an instructor with CBVI? What's going on with that to be able to be like, oh, yeah, this is who the person is. So for the examples you were saying, the person who's the social worker, he needs to make sure it says social worker when he fills out the form.
Okay, so we just need to put our credentials. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I also tell people, this is the time to put all the alphabet soup after your name that you've gotten, whatever it is, Masters in Ed, Masters in Social Work,
Right.
Masters in Library Science. It goes there.
Now, I want, Liz, you told me about a change in the requirements. I just want to emphasize that to anybody who used this who may know a child with learning disabilities.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I worked, before I went to library school, I worked as an aide in a remedial reading classroom, and the teacher used to record books for the kids, and we also bought some commercially done ones, so that they could read along with the book, or listen along with reading the book. The recorders, the players that you guys provide are so much better than what they could get in that classroom, because they can slow the pace down to match their needs. So I just wanted to make sure to throw that in.
If we had been giving this presentation even a year ago, or if you look at then any of those videos that Stephen was talking about, you'll hear us say, now keep in mind, if it's someone with reading disabilities, it has to be signed by a doctor, an MD or a DO. And we were so excited by the change that made it possible that pretty much they expanded it to like almost anyone in the child study team, a teacher, the reading specialist, school psychologist, and not only can sign it for reading disabilities, but anything. So even before this, if we were working with a teacher, we had to tell the teacher, well, maybe go find the school nurse to sign the application. And that is a very recent change. And that's also why we suggest to anybody, if you have old copies of our applications, throw it out. Because the application, in case you're like, oh, that's a whole long list of people to memorize, social worker, this, that, the other thing, that list is always on the application on the page where people sign it. So if you're ever like, oh, who is it? You look at the application, match the title, and say, oh, it's there. So, and we get in sometimes applications, let's see, we used to be called the Library for the Blind and Handicapped, LBH. That is over 10 years ago. We still get applications that has that name on it because bless people, they do not like throwing old things away. This is okay. Throw it away, use the one online, and if you want print copies, we can send them to you. Anything else? Okay, well, we're here too if anyone wants to talk one-on-one.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you.